What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Horror Heads podcast. I am Rich Mallery here with my co-host Jerry Lourenco.
Hey, how's it going?
Going pretty well. You could follow us on Instagram at horrorheadspodcast or email us your love and hate at horrorheadspodcast@gmail.com. So today we're going to talk about this new romantic horror movie, Hard Eyes, which released theatrically for Valentine's Day but just came to streaming. And then a little bit later, model actress Fawn Winters is going to join us, and we're going to talk about a couple of her favorite films. We're going to talk about Creep from 2014, the found footage film, and we're going to talk about a 90s classic, The Craft. So super stoked to get into it. Excited to talk to Fawn and see what she's got to say. Super stoked to get to some drinking in a little bit. But before we do
Oh
that,
yeah.
let's talk Hard Eyes. And for
Ooh.
those of you who are not overly familiar with the movie, because it kind of came and went, it was kind of came into theaters like it was a good date movie for that Valentine's Day week, and then kind of disappeared a little bit, and now it's popping back on digital. So Jerry, since like this film to me anyway seems right up your alley and the kind of film that I feel like you would like, so why don't you kind of give the plot of it really quick for everybody?
Yeah, sure. There seems to be this serial killer that seems to attack couples on Valentine's Day, and he just shows up around Valentine's Day, and every single year he shows up at a new town. He kind of does his thing, kills a few couples, and then he disappears. I think that is a good way to kind of explain what's going on in this film. So,
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, look, it's a new masked slasher.
yeah.
I'd probably setting up a franchise potentially. I think it did pretty fairly well, considering again the budget and everything like that. So I'm watching this movie and it's like a fun slasher movie. There's definitely some cool kills. There's some blood. There's like definitely a lot of humor, and it's very feels very like now and in the moment, kind of with the humor and things like that. So I'm watching this movie and I'm like, oh, I have a feling that this is one of those movies that is going to end up in Jerry's rotation just because I gotta know what you like. Am I accurate? Like, did you like this? And I think you
Uh,
watched it a second time.
yeah, I'm already planning on watching it a third time. I really enjoyed this film. I mean, again, it's two things that I really enjoy. It's a mass slasher, like you said, and it's a holiday horror. Amazing. Here's a very untapped holiday that very few films, outside of maybe like Valentine or
My
what's that
Bloody
other one?
Valentine.
Yeah, my Bloody Valentine. Just there's just a few films that you could watch for this particular holiday, and a lot of people don't celebrate, so they just want to sit around and watch a film. And I think it's really good to capitalize on it. I think this is a really unique film because I think what's really different about it is that this guy, he's not like a local killer. He's a national act, man. He just like tours town to town, and he'll could be anywhere. He could show up in your town. He could show up in another town, next year. And really, it doesn't matter particularly who the killer is because there could be like copycats and there could be like any sort of situations. Anyone who's kind of like just pissed off about Valentine's Day. There's all sorts of stuff. So I think it definitely plays on like that standard kind of like Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, kind of like not really teen, maybe a little older than teen kind of horror, but puts that little twist on it that it could take place anywhere. And I like that. It's not limited. So I think there's a lot of potential for it, and I'm into it. So I'm guessing being that you asked me, you didn't like it?
No, actually, I did like it, and it reminded me a little bit of a lighter Thanksgiving. Just
Yeah, yeah,
very
definitely.
similar because that again was holiday horror. It was pretty gruesome. The kills were pretty creative. It was a little bit more of like a whodunit than this movie. So I felt very similar. This was a lot more with the humor up front. Like this was more of a date movie, right?
Oh
I felt
yeah.
like and like it just I felt like it was a date movie with some horror elements in it. But I felt like it was a good mashup between the two genres. And usually, again, these kind of movies I may not like because I might not get a lot of the humor, just might not be for me. But I felt like this like was like it just felt right, and I definitely enjoyed it a lot more than I would have. If you would have described it to me, I'd probably be like, I don't know. But no, I liked it, and I actually did watch it a second time too, just to like
Oh,
yeah, just to be like more fresh on it because I watched it a little while ago. And yeah, I liked it too. There's definitely some things I didn't like about it though, and like I think I'm curious to know like a female perspective on the male lead. And really the focus of the movie is the female character, and I can't remember her name, but she's, basically ends
talking
up
about
in
Allie?
Allie ends up in like, some positions with her her romantic interest. And the guy is like aesthetically hot, but he's just so cringy to me. And I would love to know like how females feel about him as like the male lead, because like he just seemed, I don't know, like just very fake to me. And like every time he talked, I'm just like, like the guy says he like dressed up as Pikachu for Halloween. I'm like, this guy first just doesn't, I don't know. It just like was hard for me to kind of get into him as like this hot guy. And I know he's supposed to be, but I'm just
I mean,
wondering if that's just me.
he was hot. I mean, it is.
Aesthetically, yeah, he's a really good
Yeah,
looking dude.
it's Mason Gooden from Scream franchise. I think he's really starting to kind of break out on his own and doing more films. I thought he was very good in Scream, and he definitely walks that line of being humorous and then being serious. I think we got to see him be a lot more kind of like action type acting in this film. Yeah, I mean, I think that was the point of his character. He was like this unusually good-looking guy. You could tell he was wealthy. He was like the youngest I think they made up a role, but I'm guessing he was some sort of like creative director in a huge agency in New York. So that's a well-paying job. And I think they were trying to play him off to be like this kind of like romantic, sensitive guy. And maybe he didn't play those parts as well as he could have, but I think Olivia Holt was really good in this film, the girl who played Allie, and then you had Jordana Brewster for any fans of what the heck, why can't I think of it? Fast and Furious. She and of course one of our favorite actors from back in the day, Devon Sawa.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, to see him come back is awesome.
Yeah, he's having kind of like a resurgence. I know he was in like the Chucky TV series and he's been doing a
Yep.
bunch of stuff. But yeah, I think I liked the female lead a lot. I liked all the actors. I just really didn't like the male lead. He was hard to kind of look at, but the movie wasn't really about him. And my other complaint about the movie was kind of like the reveal at the end who the killers were. It just kind of came out of nowhere for me. And like, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter to be honest with
Doesn't
you.
matter.
But I
Yeah.
was kind of like, I was kind of disappointed by that. However, I will say that like the final sequence where um they're fighting the killers was graphic and brutal, and
Oh yeah.
that final decapitation scene was
Oh God.
like they really went like hard with that, and like it was like almost like unnecessarily graphic, but I loved it. It was like really cool. Like she's the killer's like dying, and like but then it goes like a step further, and it was I thought that was super
It
cool.
was it was brutal. That was a great scene. And then I mean to really get like that nice, like authentic, like slasher film, I think that drive-in scene was
Hmm.
definitely a top scene for me. Very reminiscent of like Freddy vs. Jason. When he goes into the cornfield and he attacks that rave. Same thing when Hard Eyes goes into the drive-in theater. Uh, Allie and Jay, they're just like, oh no, we brought this killer to like a buffet, and literally it was just couples there, and he definitely made the most of it. He just like walked by, slashing really anyone who got in his way, and didn't even have to be like, bothering him or a couple or anything. If they just kind of was in front of him, he was like tearing them up. He had that like sick looking knife, and I don't know, man. That couple in the van, I thought that was brutal too, the way he killed them. Um, I mean, some great kills. So it definitely, for me, it's a nice, fast-paced slasher film. Like you said, very similar to like the John Carver character in Thanksgiving, and I really like that film too. I think holiday horrors, there's not enough of them, so I'm happy. I'm happy they're doing this, and the tease seems like there could be additional ones. So I'm hoping for that.
Yeah, and like you said, fast paced, which I think a lot of newer horror movies just, and horror movies in general, I guess, over the time, but especially the newer ones just end up kind of going on a little bit too long. And I felt like it said this was like 97 minutes, but it didn't feel like it. It felt like a tight 90. And maybe because there is like a post-credit sequence, so maybe it kind of like plays a little
Yeah, I
longer.
think I think that goes in. Yeah.
Yeah, so like, but it didn't feel long. It kind of it moved pretty fast. Again, like the humor in it like kept me like laughing. Like the scene where she's invites like the boy back to her house or apartment, and then she's like finds her like vibrator on the floor and she's going to throw it in the closet, and Hard Eyes is in the closet. Like I thought that was really funny. Like it was clever. The movie was clever,
Re-
and I think for these movies to work, like they have to be really well written, and I think this was really well written. And I was looking, and the writer, I don't know if you did you see the movie Freaky with Vince Vaughn a few years ago?
No, I've been meaning to, but there's just something about it. Maybe it's the cover art that's preventing me from watching it. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean that's another one where if you describe it to me, I'd be like, "There's no way I'm gonna like that movie." But I actually liked it, and it was very
Hmm.
similar to this. Like, there's like some
Really?
gore,
Oh,
there's a bunch of kills. Like, it's funny in the right places and the right moments. And again, I only saw it like once, and it was a while ago. But I remember being like, I actually enjoyed it and did not think I would. And it's tonally, it's very similar to this one. So I think
really?
you might kind of it's worth checking out. I think it's better than. What was that movie where the girl goes back in time to like solve a murder? There was that slasher movie that came out a couple of years ago
Oh,
or last year. You know what I'm
yeah,
talking about?
yes, I know exactly what it is, and it's not coming to me right now. Olivia
Yeah.
Holt was in it, wasn't she?
I don't remember. I don't remember who was in it, but basically, yeah, the premise was like someone goes back in time to prevent their mother's murder or something like that. Which like I did not like because I just did not feel like it
Wait,
worked.
hold it. Totally. Wait, what was it?
Was it totally 80s?
No, totally. It's gonna kill me.
Totally killer. Totally
Totally
killer.
killer. There you
Totally
go.
killer. And like
Yeah,
that
that
was a
was
movie
it.
that's very similar to these two, Hard Eyes
Yeah.
and Freaky, but I didn't think it was as good. But I
No,
did
not at
like
all.
Freaky. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't remember the name of it because it really wasn't that good. I just watched it that one time. I mean, yeah, I think there was a lot of things to like about this film. It starts off in that traditional kind of like slasher fashion, where it's like that opening scene where, they just want to get those first couple kills in, for like useless characters you're never going to know or care about just to kind of set the premise. I like that. I like every film that starts like that. There's going to be a hard cut and they're going to move into like some daytime scene where like they're going to introduce us to like the next cast of characters. I mean, it's such a used formula, but I love it. I don't get bored of it. And they could keep using that formula because it totally works for me. I really liked that. And I really kind of like the premise of this entire film that basically these two they weren't a couple. It was just like a mistake, and that's why all this is happening. So I think that makes it even kind of funnier, is that this shouldn't even be happening to them, just because they weren't really a couple and he supposedly only targets couples. So I thought that was pretty funny and ironic, and I think that was a great overtone for like the entire film. So I enjoyed a lot of elements to this film.
Yeah, I think it was a good twist too, because there's a time that Hard Eyes captures the couple who like wasn't
Mm.
supposed to be a couple. And the reason why they accidentally became a couple is because she sees her ex-boyfriend and kisses him and pretends that he's her boyfriend. And Hard Eyes basically says, "Oh, we were actually going to kill your ex-boyfriend, but we saw you two kiss." And then like so like the whole thing, like if she didn't do that, like none of this would have happened, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, we can all relate. We all have done that before, right? Try to get the ex jealous. So I think that
Just
that is totally relatable. But who knew it would have such grave consequences? But I thought that was really clever on their part to not make it so straightforward. Like this shouldn't even be there, kind of thing. Like this shouldn't even be happening. And it's funny because they like keep trying to tell him they're like, we're not a couple, we're not a couple. But the more they kind of say that, the more they kind of end up being a couple. So it's clever. It's definitely some clever writing, not too much. modern language or anything like that, even though it's like a super young cast. I think, it'll be pretty timely. That's something you could watch a few years from now and it won't be, too cringy, but I think it was cool. I liked it. I mean, there were like marketing people. I kind of relate to that. So there's so many elements of this film that I liked and um I'm probably gonna watch it 10 more times. Not gonna lie to you, dude.
Yeah, no, I definitely like I recommend it if you want something that's going to be kind of fun. It's definitely I think like a date movie, so someone who's not even into horror movies could potentially get into this, and I think it has something for the horror fans too. So yeah, surprisingly, I liked it, and I'm definitely going to probably watch it like every year on Valentine's Day or adjacent to that.
Well, if you had to give this one, I don't know if we're giving this like official bloody knives, but if you
Might as
did give
well.
this one an official bloody knife rating, I'd be very interested to hear what your thoughts are because I still don't
Yeah,
know I still don't know what you would give it though.
I'd give it a 3.5.
Oh,
I really
oh,
liked,
oh,
I didn't like love it, but I really liked it. And again, I know I'm going to keep watching it. So, yeah, I would definitely give it a 3.5.
wow. I would actually, I think I liked it more, but I think I'd give it a 3.5 too. So that's
Okay.
pretty
All right.
funny. That's pretty funny because I was feeling really strong about this. I'm like, he likes it. He's probably gonna give it like a 2.5 or something like that. But I'm actually shocked and I'm glad we got to watch it. I was waiting for this one. I was hoping to catch it in the theaters, but something always happens. So I didn't catch it this time. So glad I didn't have to wait too long for it to end up on streaming. Yeah, I'm psyched about it.
Yeah, and I'm glad we rated it before we poured our drinks because that would have been a lot of sips, and that
Yeah,
was
I'm still a
strategic
little.
because yeah, I thought you were gonna give it a higher rating, and I'm like, I want to talk about this
uh,
before. But the reason why we haven't drunk yet is because we are waiting for our guest who is here. I'm going to bring Fawn in right now.
and we're a little hungover from last night still. So.
Yes. All right. Well, like magic, she is here. Welcome, model, actress, soon to be cult superstar Fawn Winters. Fawn, great to have you on.
Good to be here. Thank you.
So, how I know Fawn, I'll tell the story really quick. Fawn is a really good friend of mine, and I'll tell how we met. So, a couple of years ago, Fawn was filming a soon to be cult classic film called Baby Cat. And the DP on that movie, Louis, works on a lot of my films, and he was like texting me while he was on set, and he's like, "Oh my God, you have to meet this actress on our set, Fawn Winter. She's got this look. I think she'd be great for your movies." I'm like, "Okay, cool, whatever, whatever." I'm like, "Just whatever." And he's like, "Oh, I showed her the trailer of one of your movies, Feline. She loves it. She wants to work with you." I'm like, "Sure, sure, sure, whatever, whatever." I'm like, "Just give her my number," and I like kind of forgot about it. And then
Yeah.
somehow we just started like texting, and I was like, "Oh, do you want to like just meet like for a drink and like we could talk? I have this project, We Are Wolves, that I'm like starting to develop." And you said yeah, and I was like, "Okay, cool." And I ended up showing up like a half hour late because I went to the wrong address. And you
What
were
a
right. I was
dick.
like, oh, I'm like, yeah, I'm like, I totally blew this, but whatever. Like, most likely she's not going to be interested anyway, and I don't even know why she's here. But we ended up like hanging out, drinking espresso martinis for like 4 hours, and I was like so psyched. Like, just you had great energy, and I just loved kind of talking to you and like getting to know you. And then as soon as I got home, I just started like really writing that script, and I'm like, oh my God, I hope she likes it. And you did, and you came on board. And then since then, we've done like I'm sorry, two other films. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was like again one of those weird things where I'm like, there's whatever, like because Louis is a little crazy and in a good way, in a good way.
Right, right.
But so before we kind of get to know Fawn a little bit more, now that I gave that long story, like the one thing we do on the show is we do drink, and we've been talking for a while and not drinking. So right now we're going to talk
Yeah,
about
seriously.
we're gonna do some drinking now. So what I have
Hell yeah.
tonight is I have something called three chord small batch bourbon from
Mm.
Kentucky. It is 99 proof, so a little strong. It's craft bourbon, so we'll see how I feel about it, and that's what I'm gonna pour. Fawn, what are you drinking tonight? For those who can't
I
see.
have classic red wine, Menage a Trois. It's a blend.
Oh,
Pinot, Malbec, and Petit Syrah.
so a
Mm.
little bit of everything. Very cool. I think I've had that before, and I probably
I
bought it
definitely
because
had
of
it, yeah.
I bought it because of the name. You
Right? It's a cool
know?
name.
You
And
see,
I
you
figured
have
if I
to.
had, yeah, I figured if I had the bottle out and people saw it, like it might happen.
You never know.
You never know. Like, oh, what's that? Oh, menage a trois. What does that mean? Oh, let me tell you. So, Jerry, what do you got tonight?
Tonight I went with classic. I have some Knob Creek over here. I have the Knob Creek 9 year, which is 100 proof. So it's gonna be pretty rough after our St. Patrick's Day party that we had yesterday. But I'm gonna give it a try and see how it goes.
All right, awesome. So cheers to everybody. Let's take a sip.
Cheers.
Yeah, so Fawn, what you don't know is last night we recorded our St.
Oh
Patrick's
man.
Day episode where we were talking about the Leprechaun movies, which are whatever, like they left the Leprechaun movies, but we were doing like shots of Irish whiskey and drinking Guinness,
Oh
and
man,
it unraveled pretty quickly. So like,
I'm sure.
and we usually don't do back-to-back episodes, but like we want to like get that St. Patrick's Day one in. So yeah, so
Yeah.
it was a rough day. So Fawn, tell me about this menage a trois blend of three red wines. What is it like? Do you like it? Is it good? What does it taste like?
I love it. I've had it before. It's not nearly as strong as what you're drinking. I think it's like what? It's almost 14%. That's pretty good for a red wine.
Respectable.
Yeah. No, it's chill. It's soft and fruity.
Soft and fruity. Very nice. Jerry, how about you? Tell us about the knob. What's that like?
Oh man, it's like fire in my mouth right now, dude. It's burning. It's a long, heavy burn. Very grainy. Um,
That's unpleasant.
yeah, no, I think I only had two sips. It's still burning, so it's been about 30, 40 seconds now. I think after my 10th sip, not really gonna care. I'm just gonna drink it.
Yeah,
So,
there's only one
but
way to get rid of the burning. It's just like
yeah,
when you eat like spicy food. If you keep eating it, you're
Oh yeah.
fine. It's
keep
like
going
once you
up.
stop.
No.
So if you just kind of guzzle, you should be in good shape.
I like it though. It's a classic. How is that? It sounds horrible. So tell me about it.
But the three
The
chord
three
over here.
chord. Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, it's horrible. No, it's like I'm not a fan of craft bourbon at
Am
all,
I
and
the only one who likes their drink?
that's kind of better though. It's kind of better if we don't like it because it's kind of like the torturous. Once we get to the drinking games, it's gonna be fun to drink something bad. No, it's fine. It tastes grainy. It's got a kick to it. Again, I'm not a huge fan of, like I just said, it craft bourbons, but I do try to drink something different every time. It's smoother than I would expect it to be, and it says perfectly tuned taste. I guess that's playing off of the music. I don't know. I don't know.
Wow.
It's all right. Like I would never buy it on my own, but it was like $30 and $30 bourbon. I'll take it.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah,
Why
exactly.
not?
The $10 bottle of wine.
Yeah, so every episode I try to get a different bourbon, like from Bevmo, basically is where I shop, and I'm kind of running out of the cheaper options, so I don't know how I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep doing it. And we've done like 28, 29 episodes, so that's a lot of options and that are running out. So we'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
You gotta switch to like vodka or something.
I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can. I do like gin, but I don't. I'd have sipping it for the show would be bad news because we do kind of it does kind of get crazy sometimes. So, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, Fawn, other than just you're awesome and just want to talk to you, um, is
Sorry, I just threw up if you heard that.
who threw up? Your boyfriend or
Nova.
dog? Oh, the dog.
I
Are they drinking the menage a trois? Is that what happened?
No, I did not put it in her water bowl. No.
Do you need to check on her?
No, she's okay.
Okay, all
She
right.
put it under the dining table.
There's puke on the floor, and this is going to be a fun hour for us.
Yes.
So Fawn, you have a new movie that is hopefully coming out any day now called Feral,
Yeah.
and I'm excited to have you talk about that movie. Unfortunately, our audience probably knows a lot about that movie because I've been talking about it for the past 2 months. But so we'd love to hear kind of like your take on the character you play. If you could kind of describe the plot of the movie as well as kind of like your role in it, that we would love to hear like your perspective.
Definitely. No, it was so much fun. I think that was my first like crime thriller. So it was definitely different. But at the same time, I feel like I really resonated with the character Ghost just because she is like this edgy badass. Not that I drug and steal from people, but she's just trying to survive. And the plot, I mean, I won't give it away, but the plot twist at the end, like you always think I don't know, the kind of femme fatale character is going to be the winner and, get everything. But don't underestimate those mousy little sweet characters. They'll come for you.
Yeah, everybody could be a villain, right? So
Yeah,
yeah.
anyone can be.
So Fawn, what was it like working with such a talented director? That's what we really all want to know.
Yes, I don't know if you've heard of him. Rich
Uh,
Mallery is just amazing.
yeah, it's don't worry, we'll cut this out.
This is the only part that's going in the episode.
No, I mean, it's always a pleasure working with you. Like you were talking about, we've had a friendship for a while, so you make all the actors feel so comfortable on set. And I always love your scripts and the dialogue. And you give us the freedom to, like, if we want to reword something to make it feel more natural, but usually I don't have to. So, and I will say on that set, I had a migraine, a very bad migraine for like 3 days, and you allowed me to take little naps when it wasn't my turn. So, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and in that movie, like the character is supposed to snort a lot of drugs, and I know that was challenging with the headache that you had or the migraine that you had to do a lot of that. No,
Yeah.
you were like a
When I'm
trooper for
okay.
real. Yeah, no, you're hardcore, and one of the things I love about working with you, and we've worked together on a bunch of stuff, is how prepared you are, and that you know the script so cold, and you have everything down to a T, and like I don't really have to step in at all. You got it, and you become that character. Would love to kind of know about your process for like when you're getting ready to shoot a movie, like how you kind of immerse yourself in the character or the world. Like what are some tips and tricks that you do that you kind of share with some other actresses?
Definitely. Well, you give us some like references from other characters, so that's really helpful. I always like go and like watch their scenes in movies to kind of get a feel for what you want, and then I just combine that with what I'm feeling from the script. I'm a Capricorn, I'm a perfectionist, so I do like to have it completely memorized, but just having like the chemistry and bouncing off the other actors too, I feel like is what makes it more natural. And I did it a little bit this time, which I think was helpful, and I want to do it more in future movies, but like keeping a notebook and kind of like writing as that character, like what are Ghost's thoughts? Like what just a random moment that's not even like in the film. Like what would Ghost do? I feel like is really helpful for immersing yourself, and even being on set, I really try to stay in character even when I'm napping.
Yeah, I think
It's
KDK does
awesome.
a lot of that too with the notebook and things like that. And I know when I'm writing characters, I kind of try to think of them in like normal situations and think of like how would they act here, and then that kind of translates into the writing. So you've done
Exactly.
a bunch of features at this point. What are like tell us like some of your favorite roles that you've had so far, and I'm sure they're all like the roles you had in my movies, but like what like, what are some of your favorite things that you've played and why?
I mean, Feral definitely, just because that was so different, but We Are Wolves is still one of my favorites. I have the big poster framed in my living room. That was just so intense. And that's the first time I really just kind of let go. I feel like a lot of times, I mean, every set is different, but just the comfortability too on your sets, like it's easy just to get immersed into it. And if I'm gonna scream and freak out and cry and like have that vulnerable moment, like I know it's gonna be okay. So, but We Are Wolves is definitely
Yeah, and
still one of my favorites.
you had to go to some really, really dark places for that. And it was like interesting again to watch your process and how you kind of really gave your all and then like had to kind of recover from that. Like I'm speaking about towards like when we did like the final scenes of the movie where there's that really intense showdown between you and the other female protagonist, and she's got you tied up to a chair and she's going to drill into your leg and all this bad shit's going to happen. And the amount of just energy you put into that and then having to like stop, take a break, get yourself mentally back into it, and then do it over and over again. It was really, really fun to see that process, although I'm sure it was not fun for you as you kind of had to go through a mental breakdown over and over again.
Oh yeah. I got home and I told my boyfriend, I'm like, I just need comfort, like no words, just cuddles right now. But that was so cool on that set too. After we finished that scene, I don't know if you remember, we walked outside of the garage and there was that little black cat walking around. I was like, "Oh, that's like some kind of sign."
Yeah, it really kind of cheered me up as well because like even though I'm not acting, I'm not in it, I'm still experiencing it with you, and like we all went to a really dark fucking place, and to see like
Oh yeah.
a black cat, which I don't know my black cat is right there in the background. I don't know if you see the void over there, but yeah, always kind of cheers me up. So what made you kind of want to get into like tell us your story? Like how did you kind of get into wanting to act, and like what was that like to make that decision, and like what are you all about? Would love to kind of know.
It kind of just like came to me when I moved to LA. Like I was tattooing and modeling back home in Connecticut. And when I moved here, like I continued doing that. And then I started getting roles in music videos and short films. And I'm like, I really love this. Like modeling's fun, but acting is just, it's my passion. And when I look back at me as a child, like I was always kind of a character and I was really shy growing up. So I feel like I'd have movies and shows and I'd kind of imitate those characters to kind of give me confidence. So I've always been like acting a little bit. And I talk to myself a lot. I'm really weird. I think you have to be weird in order to be an actor. So just
Yeah, there's
fits.
definitely something wrong with you.
Yeah, a little bit.
So I'm glad you actually said that about like picking out other characters and kind of like imitating them. So let's take like if you could pick and if you can't think of just one, if you need a couple, that'd be cool too. Like if there's like a role that you've seen that you're like, oh damn, I wish I played that role, like in a movie or a TV show like what would it be? Like what would be like, oh, if only I would have done that one, that would have been so cool. And it could be like a huge big budget movie. It could be whatever.
Ooh, I mean, I think the first one that comes to mind, and we've talked about this a little bit because you gave it as a reference for We Are Wolves, Girl Interrupted, Angelina Jolie, like I've seen that movie like several times and like that's the kind of character. And I don't really mind even being like typecasted. I feel like because I have tattoos and I have a certain look, I'm always like the edgy or villain or sadistic character, but it is so fun to do because it's so opposite from my personality. So just darker roles like that, I love doing.
Yeah, yeah, very cool. Yeah, yeah, she's amazing in that movie. I mean,
Mm.
she had a moment back then where everything she did was wild and really good. I haven't seen anything that she's done recently.
Me
Um,
either, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know she's still like putting out stuff. I just haven't really paid attention, to be honest with you. Just not my kind of movies, I guess. So, okay, so
Right.
this is a horror podcast, and I know you're not like a maybe I'm wrong, but you're not like a huge horror fan, but you do have an appreciation for horror films. So, like, what kind of horror films do you like? And we're going to talk about a couple that you chose for tonight. But what are the types of films? Like, what are some of your favorites other than like kind of the ones we're going to discuss?
Well, growing up, I feel like I was really into horror and I didn't mind like the gore or like the scares, like The Ring, Sinister, like the really messed up ones I'd love. Because as I've gotten older, I feel like very sensitive to them. Like I'll be in that dark place if I watch it. So I prefer to act in horror movies more than really watch them. But I feel like I like weird ones. Like obviously the ones we're going to talk about today are some of my favorites in there not necessarily super gory, but they have that kind of like psychological, even like a kind of funness to them, like the craft. But when it gets too realistic, like one of the new movies, Substance, my boyfriend did like a screening for that. And I'm like, could that looks really cool. Like, could I handle that? He's like, no.
You know, it's funny, like, I love The Substance. It's one of like the best movies I've seen in a
Awesome.
long time. I know for a lot of females, especially females in like performance art, like acting, modeling, it's really hard to watch because of it's like kind of what people go through, right? About the your appearance
Mm,
and as you get older, becoming less desirable and things like that. So I've heard that from a lot of people that it's a tough one to kind of sit through. The movie does
mm,
get really gross too, but it's a brilliant movie.
right.
It's like so creative and artistic, and
It is. Yeah.
it's. Oh, did you end up watching it or?
No, I've watched
Uh,
scenes. I need to get through it. I need to grow up and watch
it's
it.
a tough one. I don't,
Yeah.
I don't know if we ever need to grow up. So cool. So other than so like I know like I for example give you movie references to kind of watch before you're about to do act in a film or a music video, are there like, do you have like a go-to thing that you kind of either watch or music that you listen to kind of like get you in a headspace, or is it kind of different every time? Like I know some people have like certain movies that, like for me, for example, like whenever I'm about to film a movie, for whatever reason, I always watch like Requiem for a Dream. Even if my movie's nothing like that, I
Oh.
just watch it and it inspires me. And I also always listen to, on the way to set every day, I listen to the soundtrack of a movie, Maniac. And I don't know why, but I always listen to it. And it's one of those things that just gets me in a headspace for making a film. So is there anything that you have like that you just like always go back to that kind of gets you like ready, or is it different depending on what the role is?
I feel like it's usually different. Like I usually go off your references and kind of what I think will be aligned with the character I'm portraying. And as far as music, I mean, I'm a big metalhead, and I feel like that just gets me pumped. Like that'll get me out of my head. Like I'm ready to perform anything from Whitechapel to Touche Amore, anything like hardcore. It's just like, all right, I'm energetic. I'm ready to do this.
And then you take a nap on set.
And then only when I have a migraine. It was bad timing. I get genetic migraines like every month, and I was like, oh,
It
why is
just
it
happened to
happening?
be that day. No, look, migraine aside, again, you're a workhorse and you go hard and you do give it your all, and you're someone I know that I've always been able to rely on set. And look, my sets are tough. They're long days and I expect a lot out of people, and giving you some time to kind of recharge was not a big deal at all. So what do you have coming up? Like it's been like a few little bit since I've spoken to you. Like do you have any like new projects coming out, or are there things you're like excited about or thinking about?
So I've been streaming a ton. I love TikTok. I think that's a great just platform to be creative and be goofy and act on. I try to stream like 3 hours a day. And I do different things. Like right now, I'm doing like cosplay kind of teacher things. So like I yell at my students, but like in the character of like Velma or like Harley Quinn.
You said Velma, and I think Jerry wants that TikTok address now.
I have a Daphne costume too.
So I will say, like my first childhood crush was Daphne, and I believe Jerry's first childhood crush was Velma. So I'm just saying
Oh,
that right
you'll have
now.
to join one of my streams then. You'll love it.
Definitely.
Yeah, yeah. Please yell at me.
Yeah.
I've
Just
heard
drop
enough.
drop that link in the chat, please. There we go.
I've heard enough of you yelling. No, I don't need any more yelling from Fawn.
No,
So
literally.
okay, so you've been doing a lot of streaming. That's super cool. How could people find you and experience these streams?
So it's just my name, Fawn Winters, Fawn Winters. That's mainly my handle on. I'm not super active on IG, but it's IG, TikTok, posting photo shoots and everything. I have a photo shoot actually coming up this weekend. I'm going to be a sad clown at an arcade. So I'm really excited for that.
Oh, that sounds super fun. Any film projects in the works, or you kind of just like taking your time trying to find the right role now that you're a big cult superstar?
Yeah, I have the opportunity to be a little pickier now, which is nice. I did just get a script the other day, so I got to go through that. It's kind of like a short, dark horror, so
Oh,
I'm
nice.
excited. Yeah, hopefully I like it, and we'll be filming that in May if I jump onto that project. But
Nice.
other than that, the winter is kind of slow, so just little photo shoots and music videos to keep me busy.
Very cool. Yeah, it's nice when you could actually like be a lot more picky and right and like do the roles that you want to do versus like I'm just starting out and I got to take Rich Mallory movies. Now I could kind of do what I want.
No. No, honestly, like yours are still some of my favorite. Like I was
Some
totally
of.
no.
All right, this is we're gonna end
Okay.
this right now. That's gonna be it.
Cut. No, truly they are. Like I was a yes man, as you have to be when I first moved here, and I've had very bad experiences. So it was refreshing to meet you and be like, oh no, this is amazing. It's gonna be an
Without
awesome.
without kind of giving away which film, could you share like one bad experience or funny
Ooh.
experience? It could be either or. It could be just to warn people who are just starting out in LA acting like what they should look out for. Let's give me one. Give me one
Yeah,
story.
There's a lot of red flags. It was a premiere actually I invited you to. I won't say the name.
I
But
know the movie.
yeah, you know it. Just there was a lot of red flags with the director. He had previously told me like his cast, like a bunch of them walked out on him when he was trying to film this, and that should have been me going, maybe I shouldn't do this. And just getting paid on time was a huge thing. The direction of the film was changing every day, so it was like hard to just adapt to what his vision was, and the end goal was not great, but I learned, it's a lesson learned. So just listen to how is the director talking to you? Like, is there a good connection there? Do you feel respected and valued is very important.
Yeah, and I always tell people, and I guess it's tough when you're dealing with like a first-time filmmaker, but I always say look at what other films they've done or people they've worked with. Very key, because if you see one thing, it's very clear what it's going to look like. And I know the movie you're talking about because I did go to that premiere and I sat behind you and I'm like, I was so embarrassed for you. I was like, oh my God, like I felt so bad that you were a part of this movie. But look, it's all a learning experience and it just makes you
Yeah,
better for the next one. And yeah, so anyway,
exactly.
super lucky to have again met you and super grateful that you've worked with me so often and definitely hope we can get something else going in the near future. But just to switch gears, we're going to talk about some horror movies now, and I'm sure I'll ask you some questions as we go through it. So we're going to talk about Creep, the found footage film from 2014, and we're going to talk about The Craft, which from 1996, which I haven't seen in a very long time, but I do remember when I saw it initially in the theaters back. I don't know how old I was, but pretty young. I remember really loving it. So let's start with The Craft and go from there. So before I kind of get into the plot and we kind of dissect the movie a little bit, why did you pick this particular movie?
I'm kind of in a similar position as you were. It's been years since I've seen it, but I knew I loved it. I mean, witches, and it's just like, it's kind of a fun movie. Like, who doesn't love like seeing a guy get thrown off a balcony?
Yeah, I love seeing that.
It's International Women's Month, so
Oh,
yeah.
okay, it's a good choice then. Good choice about four very strong female characters. That's awesome. I love it. Yeah, so it's funny because I haven't seen this movie in so long, and I'm like, ooh, does it hold up? Do I still like it? And I'll give my opinion on it in a minute. Before I do that, I'm going to give the plot of the movie. So the movie focuses on Sarah, who is a suicidal teen with magical powers. She moves to LA and, being an outcast, falls in with three misfits who are interested in witchcraft. Together, they form a coven, which makes them all powerful and turns all of them but Sarah into assholes, and the three of them soon turn against her. So that's kind of the plot. Um, again, so getting into this movie, it's very 90s, and that's not a bad thing. And what I mean by that is the 90s movies tended to have like really cool soundtracks. Like they really cared about that back then. And I think that's something that gets lost in a lot of newer horror movies was the music. And they always have like a
Mhm.
ton of like really cool either rock music or there's like a Portishead song in this movie. And it kind of really gives it a
Mhm.
feel. And even if you're not even vibing with the movie, like a lot of these movies, I just vibe with the music. And I was like, oh, that's like super cool. I know that song. So I definitely enjoyed that. One thing I also will say is when this movie came out, I had a enormous crush on Fairuza Balk, who plays Nancy, and I still have a crush on Fairuza Balk because that is my
Same.
type of girl right there, and she is so like just bizarre and just like so hot. I don't know, like I wish like
Yeah.
I met her back then, but so that's my thoughts on that movie. But no, look, it holds up. I really like the movie. Like watching it again, like new. It's like it does not really feel dated at all. Like again, like I said, it feels 90s, but it doesn't feel dated. It feels like this is a movie that could come out now. My only kind of, it's funny. My only
Hmm.
real thing about the movie where I was like, ah, this could only be better is I'm watching the movie and I'm like, oh, this feels very PG-13. I wish it kind of went a little farther. And then I looked it up and the movie is
Hmm.
rated R, but apparently it was planned to be PG-13, but because there's a fuck and then the witchcraft thing, they gave it a rating of R. And the director said, man, if he would have known that, he would have went a lot farther with the movie, which would have made it better if it was like just a little sexier, a little more violent, but it's still really good. I still really
Right.
liked it. So Fawn, like other than, it being Women's Month, like what are some other things you like about this movie?
I love the soundtrack. Like that's kind of when I was first starting to get into like rock and alternative and grunge. So like that sold me immediately. And I've always been into witchcraft. I like to practice a little bit. But I mean, it's just amazing. Like it's kind of a comfort movie for me. Like I love the themes of it. And like you're saying, it's relatable, like the situations they're going through, like high school and like the themes of like depression and everything. And I also learned they had a real like pagan practitioner like on set to make sure everything was like respectful and it
Oh,
was
I didn't know
actual like
that.
real stuff. Yeah. So I thought that was really cool.
That is really cool. And I like that they really give each character their own kind of backstory. So like even though, like I said, the three kind of do turn to assholes once they kind of get these powers and become powerful, you kind of get it, right? Because they're all kind of bullied in a way. Like Nancy is like
Right.
kind of poor white trash, probably comes from an abusive family. You know, she kind of gets picked on by people because she's different. You have the one character who is like discriminated against because she's black, and that's like
Mhm.
a whole thing there where
Rochelle.
like
Yeah.
Rochelle, yeah, you have Bonnie who is like has a skin condition where she just like looks, I guess like her skin is like kind of looks like burned. So people
Yeah.
make fun of her for her appearance. So it's a lot of things that I'm sure a lot of teenage girls went through back in the day. And then you
Mhm.
have, you know, Sarah who is like suicidal because she's different, because she has these kind of powers and doesn't understand them. And I like how they all feel very alienated and kind of found each other. And
Mhm.
you know, while it's a shame that like once they have these powers, they do turn to the dark side, it makes sense. If you get bullied your whole life and then all of a sudden you could be the bully, you're probably going to fuck
Yeah.
around a bit, right? So I kind of I do get where they turn. It does make me feel even worse for them though, right? Because they have this turn and then like kind of they end up at the very end having to go back to normal. So it's like you wonder what happens next for them, right? Are they confident
Right.
now or do they still get bullied? But
Exactly. How are they going to deal with the bullies now? They can't make them bald or anything.
that was traumatic too. And the scene you're referring to is the one girl that is making fun of Rochelle
Oh,
for her
Laura.
race,
Yeah.
basically. Laura, like,
Yeah.
she ends up like losing her hair, and for her, like appearance is everything. And like there's that scene of her like just pulling it out, and it's just like horrifying. And you don't want to feel bad for her because she's a fucking terrible person. But you kind of
Right.
do it, like the way they kind of shoot it, you kind of like, oh man, but you know, even though she got what was coming to her, it's still kind of hard to kind of stomach that. You don't want to see bad things happen to people sometimes, you know. They did a
Right.
really good job with like getting you emotional about a lot of things.
Definitely. And I think that's why it's so relatable too. Like if I had those powers in high school, I I can't say like
If
maybe
I
I
had
would
them
have done
now,
the same.
if I had them now, I'm
Literally.
going right to all my ops. I'm going to the that guy at the post
Yeah.
office that's an asshole to me.
Fuck
Like
that
I'm
guy.
shutting it all down. Mike
Uh,
McGarvey, I'm going back.
Oh no. No.
It's inside joke there. But
Oh,
but
that
yeah, no,
guy.
you get it. It is very relatable. And again, I did not grow up as a teenage girl, but I did grow up as a teenage boy, and it was tough for us too. Maybe a different kind of tough, but I get it. Like I felt like an outcast too a lot of my life, so I do understand it. And it is really cool when you do see them all come together and they finally find this group. And it is a shame when it all kind of falls apart, but you know, it makes
right.
sense. Jerry, how about you? How do you feel about this movie watching it years later?
Wow. I probably haven't watched this in probably, oh my God, 10 years, I would say. So I didn't really remember much of it. I just remember kind of like that initial reaction, like kind of like when you watch it when you're a teen. And I definitely liked it when I was younger. So I wasn't quite sure what to expect now, but it holds up, you know. It's a high school story of outcast. I like a lot of the characters. I like a lot of, you know, their backstories and things like that. I think they really developed them a lot. Like Robin Tooney's character, Sarah, you know, it's like begin to like really kind of like her as a person, and you're like rooting for her and you're happy that she finds these people. And I do like, you know, that they kind of found each other to like become this like kind of super group. And I mean it was good for like a moment. And definitely some cool things happening, you know, in this film. And I'm thinking when I was really young and we watched this, we all tried that light as a feather, stiff as a board. Now, I
Yes.
know everyone here tried that. You all had, like, everyone had a
I'm
group
still
of four
trying it.
people, like, we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
We're gonna. All right, did it work though?
No, it still doesn't work for me, but
No.
it's just me by myself.
Never worked.
I
Never,
need three
but,
other people. I need north, south, east, west. It's just me. It doesn't work.
but
I need a coven.
always tried it. Yeah, literally any single time this film was on, I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's get that. Let's get in the middle of the carpet or something like that and try it. And really though, it's a fun film. It's pretty, light on the gore. It's pretty, light on the scares. But I will say that there were definitely some kind of eerie parts around, like, Fruza Balk's character Nancy. I mean, I think they were kind of scary, like when she was like walking on the water in the beach.
Mhm.
I mean, that was kind of terrifying. And I'm a grown man, and I just watched this like last week, and I kind of like felt like a little chill. I was like, ooh. I'm like, that's creepy. And so there are like a lot of enjoyable like moments like that. When she was kind of scraping along the floor, she was kind of
Yeah,
flying a little bit with her
that was
like,
creepy as
Oh, I
fuck.
yeah,
love that
Yeah.
that would,
scene. Yeah.
I mean, is that like, I mean, that's scary. So, I mean, they definitely, there was enough there. It's a fun film. So, I'm probably going to start watching it more again now because,
Hmm.
now that I'm kind of like remembering it, and it was enjoyable. So definitely a good film. I think so.
Yeah, so like one note I have on this, and we were talking about this yesterday, like I tend to kind of fixate on things that annoy me in a movie, and it just drives me crazy, and I just
Mm.
keep thinking about it, and I have to look up like why. And one thing that really annoyed me that I fixated on was Robin Tunney's wig. She wears this terrible wig throughout the entire movie, and you even notice it like there's a scene where she changes
The
her hair
blonde
color,
one?
and it becomes a blonde wig. She had a wig the whole time in the movie,
Yeah.
and it was like just
Did
bad. And I'm
she?
like, what she did, and
I didn't even notice.
the reason why she did actually was because a month before she shot Empire Records, which is another movie that I used to love that I wonder if it still holds up, and she shaved her head in that movie. So her hair hadn't grown back yet, so she did have to wear a wig. So I thought that was interesting.
Like my boyfriend. Yes, he literally looked that up too. He's like, "Oh, that's why." Like her head was bald. I was
So
like, I didn't even
yeah.
notice
I didn't
that. Like,
notice it
The whole
either.
movie, I'm like, oh my god, that wig is terrible. And then like, I'm like, I just could not stop
yeah.
thinking about it. And I was like, why does she wear a terrible wig? And that's why. So there you go. The other, while I was kind of researching the movie, the other thing I thought that was interesting was, so the director Andrew Fleming, um, states publicly that the TV show Charmed ripped off this movie, and it even uses the same song "How Soon Is Now."
Oh wow, yeah.
But what ended up happening was originally Andrew Fleming wrote a treatment for a TV series. Everybody passed on it, including the Fox, I believe, who did Charmed, and then he went on to do The Craft, and then they did Charmed. So he actually they stole the idea from him, which I thought was interesting.
Wow, I didn't know that. And I like Charm too.
Yeah.
Damn.
I mean, it doesn't take away from the show, but like they did steal his
Yeah.
idea there, and it's funny that they use the same song too, which is not a coincidence. But the other thing that I saw, which is too bad it didn't happen, was they were going to do a direct-to-DVD sequel focusing on the Nancy character, Fairuza Balk's character, and it just never ended up happening. But that would have been super dope to see, because it's interesting. Because I'm watching the movie. And there's the final battle between Robin Tunney and Fairuza Balk, and I felt like, oh man, the way it ends was kind of anticlimactic. I was like she just kind of kicks
Definitely.
her, and then it's like over, and I'm like, that was kind of a weak ending. But then they go to like what happens to Nancy, and she's like like tied to a bed, and she's crazy, and like I thought that was kind of
Yeah.
like a really dark ending, and I was like, man, I would love to see kind of what was next for her character, because the way I kind of understand the movie is none of the three, other than Sarah, had powers until Sarah came along. So it'd be
Hmm.
curious to like know like what would she do if Fairuza Balk lost all her powers, like, or did she have some still remaining, or so I always kind of wonder what would happen with that character next, and it's a shame they didn't do a sequel. It could have been kind of cool, especially if
Definitely.
they did something direct to video and they could have gone a little farther and made it more R-rated.
Right. I know when I was looking it up to watch it again last night, I saw there is like a not a sequel, but kind of like The Craft the Legacy. I haven't watched that. I know it's
Yeah,
not with the original
they did a
characters.
reboot like a couple years ago, and I tried to watch it and I turned it off after 20 minutes, and I don't really remember why. I think it was just the writing was kind of like I didn't. It was like more Gen Z-ish, but I might be wrong. But I did try to watch
Mm,
it, and I just bailed on it. I think I was like, why am I watching this? I could just watch the original instead. But
right.
maybe it's good. It's I don't know. But basically, yeah, it's just like a reboot, like different girls, like probably the same type of movie. Just it's hard to
Yeah,
redo these kind of movies that were like a moment in time, you know?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely like all 90s. I mean, the costuming in this was like so accurate. That was literally me. Like in the 90s, the fact that like everyone's like kind of like smoking like Camel Lights. I was like, that's like literally every girl I dated. And I was just like, like this rings so true. And I definitely liked like that aspect about this film. And just thinking about like Rich, you mentioned that Nancy kind of ends up in the insane asylum. I mean, was she really crazy though? She was probably just telling them this story of like
Yeah,
all this shit that happened, and they probably just didn't believe it. They're like, "You're not a
absolutely.
witch.
That's why it was
This
kind
didn't
of
Right.
happen."
yeah.
Like she's 100% true. Like well, everything she said was probably true, but they just thought she was like crazy because they're like, "That didn't happen." And
Right.
you know, it's a damn shame because I liked her character as well. You know,
My favorite.
yeah, I mean, she definitely got a little evil, but I think that's really what we like
Mhm.
about her. Unfortunately, I think Neve Campbell's and Rachel True's character they kind of get lost like in the mix of this film.
They're the
They're
sidekicks.
very yeah, they're definitely the sidekicks. I wish maybe they were a little bit more involved, and even Skeet Ulrich was in this, which was kind of surprising, probably right before he popped from Scream. But, so I mean, it was like a huge cast, and I always thought that like
Mhm.
all of these actors and actresses were really going to like do a lot. But I mean, honestly, I don't, outside of Neve Campbell, I just don't think they kind of hit that level that you thought at this time, like in the 90s. I mean,
Yeah.
like what
What
did Rachel True end up doing? Like what did Robin Tooney end up doing really like after this? Like
That's true. Yeah, it's kind of a shame. Like Fairuza Balk even. She's not really anything big after that, is she?
Yeah.
she always does
Yeah.
like those B character kind of thing. Like she's never like the star, I don't think. I mean, American History X, things like that, you know, not really the star, but you know, you really like at this moment though, you're like these are like the four hottest actors out right now. We're gonna be watching them for years, and it was shocking that like really they kind of faded out. I was just thinking about that when I was rewatching this.
Yeah, they just had bad agents, I guess, because they all probably could have blown up after
Yeah.
this.
Fairuza
And I,
Balk is so mesmerizing to
yeah,
watch. Like even her eyes, I'm just like I'm hypnotized by you.
you can't look away from her for sure. And I think she had like a bit of a reputation as being kind of problematic and crazy. And I did read a story that Rachel True, her agent, like warned her about hanging out with Firuza Balk or getting like involved with her
Really?
because she was known for I guess being like a problem and like said
Bad girl.
we're gonna drop you if like we catch you in the paparazzi like hanging out with her like something like that and I never
Wow.
heard any stories about like these kind of things but I also wasn't
Yeah.
we didn't have the internet really then, right? So we weren't like knowing all of the details of like things that were going on. But again, it doesn't surprise me that she was a little nuts, right? I mean, Fruza Balk,
Right. Yeah.
something a little off with her. But yeah, I still have a crush. So what we like to do to wrap this one up before we go to the next movie, Fawn, is we rate every movie on a scale of 0 to 5 bloody knives, 0 being the worst, 5 being the best. You could do halves, and how it works is we do play a little drinking game on this show. And the drinking game is whatever rating Jerry gives a movie. So if he gives it a 4, I have to take 4 sips of my drink, vice versa. I give it a 3, he's got to take 3 sips. When we have a guest, how it works is whatever you give, Jerry and I have to take that number of sips. But you need to pick someone that you want to kind of
Okay.
roll with for the rest of the night. So you need to either choose me or Jerry. And what that means is if you pick me, you need to drink the number of sips Jerry gives with me. And if you pick him, you need to give the number of sips that I provide. It will all become clear. I will make it. I will walk you through it. But basically, the choice right now is
That's
It made no
who's
sense at all.
no. And even though I've said it 28 times at this point, I'm still confused. But the point is, you need to pick either me or Jerry, and you need to choose wisely. And really, what you need to decide is if you want to drink a lot, you want to pick the person who you think is going to um, the opposite of the person who's going to give the higher ratings. And if you don't want to drink, then you got to give. I don't know. That made no sense. Basically, pick me or Jerry, and I'll tell you what to do next. As I'm talking, I'm also
You're making this more complicated.
I've been drinking, and it's been we did St. Patrick's
2 days
Day,
straight.
So, yeah.
I need to drink more to understand the instructions.
Okay. so pick Jerry or I, and that's how this is gonna roll, and that's who you have to stick with.
Okay. I'll pick Rich, just because Jerry, your drink sounds awful. So I don't know.
No worries at all.
Okay,
you
so
probably made the right decision. Just so you know,
you probably did.
Partnering with me leads to a rough night.
Yeah, and I know what's going to happen. I think on the next movie we talk about. So I think you did make the right choice. So how we're going to start this is Fawn. Give your rating 0 to 5, and then Jerry and I are going to drink.
Ooh, okay. The Craft for me, I'm gonna give it a 4. I love it. I think it's a cult classic, and it makes me feel good.
I'll give you that. All right, Jerry and I are going to drink to 4. Here's a cheers to that. 4 sips.
Oh,
All
that's
right.
brutal.
Yeah. Drinking gasoline.
Sorry.
Woo.
All right, now Jerry's going to give his rating, and Fawn, you and I are going to drink that number of sips.
Okay.
I like this film. I think it is a classic. Unfortunately, witchcraft is not really my genre. I could watch it, but it's not something I'm going to watch all the time. So I definitely have to take that into account. I like a little more scares, a little more blood, but I still think it's a good film. I'm giving it 2.5.
2.5. Okay, so in a moment we're
Two
going
and
to
a half.
we're all going to drink together, so we're not just like stumbling around. So I'm going to give mine, and I'm actually going to align with Fawn on this. And I'm going to give it a 4, and I'm going to give it a 4 because it holds up. I still love it, and I'm gonna watch it a bunch. Do I wish it was a little darker, to go a little harder? Yes, but that wasn't the intent of the movie. They were trying to make a PG-13 movie. It's definitely darker than PG-13. So I'm gonna give it a 4. So Jerry's gonna drink 4 seconds. Fawn and I are 2.5. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
And Fawn just finished her
man.
glass of
Oh,
Menage a
God.
Trois.
My ice melted.
All right,
Brutal.
Fawn's about to re-pour another glass. I just re-poured mine a moment ago. So we're gonna switch gears, and we're gonna talk about a very different kind of movie now.
Before we do that, Rich.
Oh shit, this is getting wild. All right.
I just had an idea. Since we're here and Fawn's here and she's joining us, I'm thinking about maybe putting together a little drinking game really quick that we could play, and it's really about 1996. Now, Rich knows how these games usually go, Fawn. I usually kind of throw out like a movie, and you have to guess whether or not that movie was from 1996 or maybe it wasn't. So it was kind of a 50-50 thing.
Okay.
And if you get it right, I'll drink. But if you get it wrong, you drink. And for tonight, since we have special guest here, we'll keep the teams. So it could be you and Rich. It could be versus me. And what I'm going to do differently is you two could converse.
Oh.
You two could kind of come to an agreement and see if you could decide of whether or not this film was made in 1996. So are you down to play this game, Fawn?
I'm down.
All right. Two of us. We can't possibly lose.
So it's like, two should be better than one, or it could cause some confusion. So I'm gonna give like some mostly horror films, and a lot of them are probably gonna be a little obscure. So we'll see how it goes. It could be a guess at worst. It's still 50-50, but yeah, let's see how it goes. All right, are you ready to play?
And Fawn, just so you know, whenever Jerry comes up with a drinking game, he usually does lose. So I feel pretty confident.
Oh, okay.
I know you're getting scared there. You're like, I don't fucking know any of these movies. We're going to, trust me, like luck is on our side. It is almost St. Patrick's Day as we're recording this. So the luck of the Irish is with us.
I'm 2% Irish. Let's go.
All right,
awesome.
we can do this.
I lost every game I played yesterday, so I ended up taking 3 shots. It was pretty brutal.
Yeah,
I'm sure tonight will
yesterday.
be. Yeah, I'm sure tonight will be no different. So I'm going to start naming some movies, and again, all you have to do is say if it is from 1996 or if it's not from 1996. And we're
Okay.
obviously picking the year because of the craft for anyone who's listening and may not kind of understand why we're doing this.
Just a random year.
So,
Fuck it.
yeah, it's a random year. It's like 96. All right,
And
here we go. Ready?
I barely remember 96.
It's a long time ago. All
It
right.
was a long year.
That's like when I was born.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. So you got to go way back into your memory here. It's like your core
I was
infant
alive.
memories
I was alive
to
but
pull this
barely.
out. But all right, here we go. And you both could converse before you answer.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. The Dentist.
I've never
Actually,
seen that.
I do think. All right, I think I know the answer.
Okay.
You want to give it to me?
Yes.
I'm gonna say it was. What year are we doing?
1996.
I'm gonna say no. It was not 96. I'm gonna say it was 94.
Okay.
agree
You guys
with
could
that.
drink first.
Ah!
Oh,
Don't listen. Don't listen to me.
1996.
Just guess.
Take a sip. Listen, I'm not confident at all because
All right, whatever. We lost one.
you lost one.
My mind went to the movie Teeth, and I'm like, that's not it.
Which that was a hard movie to watch, man. That was fucking
Okay.
tough.
Here comes a great film. From Dusk Till Dawn.
Do you have a guess, Fawn?
I'm gonna say no.
I'm gonna align with you on that and say no.
Man, I'm 2 for 2.
Damn.
Are you serious?
But
Yeah.
I've never listened to you again.
You got the first one wrong.
So my plan
all
is
right, we're
working.
even. We're
My
even.
plan
You and
my
I
plan
are
is working. That
Yeah, maybe-
this is
maybe
going to
this
cause
is-
some. No, this is how I'm playing it. You agreed to it.
Let's change the rules.
Nope. Here we go. Night of the Scarecrow.
We can't have three in a row. That's 1996, unless he's tricking us.
He might trick us. However, I do like where your head is at. And I think there's no way. You're right. He's not going to do that. I always say no.
Yeah, that's too many horror movies.
There weren't that many movies that came out in 96. Probably
Yeah.
3 movies came out that year. Yeah.
I don't want to throw a wrench in this, but you have to imagine that maybe I didn't do an even number of ones that were and weren't, just so you know.
Like they could all be 96 for all we
yeah,
know.
that's it. I may not have done it, but are you going with? No,
Yeah, he's playing mind games. He's fucking
right,
with us
okay.
right now. It's a psyop.
You're correct on this one.
All right,
I'll take the
all right,
set.
we got
95.
one, all right.
All right.
All right, that's it. We're not gonna go 0 for however many. fucking
Okay,
picks.
all right. This is a film I watched in 1996. Maybe I didn't.
He's being tricky.
I don't like this.
Body Bags.
Ooh. Why do I want to say yes?
Sometimes you got to go with your gut.
What do you think? What's your gut saying?
My gut is saying I don't want to drink another sip, but I'm gonna go with your choice, Fawn. I don't want to be responsible.
So you're going with no.
No, I said yes.
She said
Oh,
yes.
it is 1996. So it incorrect. 1993. Take a sip.
3 years.
All right.
We weren't even close,
see-
but in Fawn's defense, like she wasn't born yet, so how would she?
yeah,
Oh.
you know, and that she has the benefit of your input. So there you go.
Input. I've been drinking for 2 days straight.
All right. All right. Rich, maybe you could weigh in on this
All right,
one
all right,
and
all right.
help
I got
Fawn
it.
out
I got
here.
It. We got this. I'm gonna pick
Hellraiser Bloodline.
you. Can you tell me which Hellraiser that was?
Oh, that was probably, I'm going to say the fourth one, I think.
If I have to guess, if this is all on me, on my shoulders,
It's not all on you.
I'm gonna say no. It was not 96.
I was feeling no too.
All
Okay.
right, let's go with no then. Both of us, like, we
Yeah.
can't both be wrong.
Yeah,
We can't both be
you're way off. It is 1996.
Ah!
What? Really?
Yeah.
Fourth
How many
one?
movies came out that year? Jesus.
Well, it was a great year for films, you know.
But none of these films were great though. So,
All right.
I don't know.
So Fawn, right now, Rich is not a great partner, and I apologize for that.
You-
but
you chose poorly.
he should 100% be able to answer this next film because we literally talked about it last night. So he's either going to get it absolutely right or he's going to blow it again. And you
He
guys are gonna
sounds
take
like
a
he was
sip.
really drunk, so I don't know.
Yeah. All right, ready? All right. This movie is Leprechaun in Space.
Oh,
No.
Rich, come on. I haven't seen that. I don't know.
No one watched this film.
No one's seen it. Let's see. You know what's funny? Like, even though we talked for about 40 minutes about Leprechaun 1, I don't even remember what year that was, and I wrote it down 10 times. I'm going to say 96. I'm going to say Leprechaun in Space was not 96.
Are
I
you agreeing
trust
with him,
you.
Fawn? You trusting him?
I have no idea.
All right.
Take a
Don't
nap.
trust don't trust him. It was 96.
Oh!
Oh, Rich!
Oh man, this is the best game ever. Man, now I'm feeling confident. Now the confidence is building with
Shit, if I
each
gotta pour another
question.
glass, this is gonna be bad. Okay.
All right.
Gonna be falling out of the chair.
All right.
Yeah, hopefully you don't have anything to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Don't worry. This painful game is almost over. Now, I know, Fawn, I don't know if you're a huge fan of this film, but I know Rich is a huge fan. This next film, and we talk about it all the time. So let's see if he knows, and you could kind of help him out with this one. The
Help.
film is Jack Frost, and I'm talking about the
Jack.
horror film.
Right. I'm like, what's the
And
claymation?
terrible movie. I do watch it all the time. I am going if it's gonna my guess is that it was not 96.
I have to go with you because I don't know.
All right.
You
You
probably
guys got
should.
it right. You got one
Okay.
right.
All right.
Man, I was getting thirsty over here. Okay.
Good job.
Damn, that was a guess. I don't know.
All right. We only got a couple left. Couple left here. And
All right.
all right, ready? Skeeto, which also starred in this film. Scream.
So The Craft was 96.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you know what? I think I do know the answer to this, and I think it is yes.
Yes, that's what I was feeling too.
I think it
You're
is a yes.
absolutely man. He had a hell of a year that year. He did Scream in the Craft.
All right, all right. So we're catching up here. We're like
Yeah.
almost almost
Catching
30,
up.
70.
We got two left.
If we get these two right, we'll be 50-50, which I will walk out of here with 50-50.
You'll be happy.
Okay.
Okay.
We
So
just gotta
so
get it. We
this-
gotta get them right. We gotta get them right. No
We
fucking
have to.
around. Get your
So-
shit together, Fawn.
Woo! Where's Nova?
so
Stop throwing
so
up,
Fa-
Nova. Let's get to this.
So Fawn, the horror head started because me and Rich used to get together on some random nights during the week, like Wednesday or Thursday, and start watching horror films at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And this film that I'm about to name right now was a film we used to watch all the time during those nights. So I'm going to be curious if Rich remembers what year it is, but you could definitely confer if you know what this movie is too. And this movie is Castle Freak.
Oh.
You know, I've
I,
never
and, I,
seen
do-
Castle
and I
Freak.
do know the year of this movie, so I do have a guess on this movie. I'm going to say it is not 96. I think it is 95.
I'm going with Rich. Yes, he knows.
All right, you didn't let me down, Rich. You didn't let me
Oh.
down.
All right.
Yeah, Fawn, like once a week, I used to work at this gas station and I would work till like midnight. And after that, I would go to Jerry's house and we'd usually watch 3 to 4 horror movies till about 6 in the morning. And I
Wow.
would stumble home after that. And we were doing it all the time. And finally,
All
I
the
was
time.
like, I'd forget all the movies we watched. So I was like, we should like start like writing reviews and start a website. So we started a website back in like the fucking 90s and we were reviewing these horror movies. And
Oh,
the
cool.
website ended up blowing up. And it got too big and we ended up not doing it because it ended up being too much work. But
Which we're lazy.
that's what. Yeah, we're lazy and we're like, I just couldn't do it. So we started hiring other people to like write the shit for us. And then that became problematic. And we just
Yeah.
said, fuck it, this isn't worth it. But that was it. We would just fucking from, again, 2 in the morning till 6 in the morning watch fucking horror movies.
Damn.
Well.
And not sleep at all.
I mean,
Barely.
That's why I can't remember any of these years. That's-
All right, well, we're on the final one. So, Fawn, usually for the final question, we like to put a little wager out there if anyone's feeling confident and feeling good. And what that wager is that you people that are answering, you could bet 1 to 3 sips on this final one of whether you're going to get it right or you get it wrong. If you get it right, then I'm going to have to take the 3 sips. If you get it wrong, you two are going to take the 3 sips. So maybe talk amongst yourselves, see if you want to place this
Oh, we don't
bet.
get to hear the movie first.
Nope.
No, no. So here's the thing, Fawn. Like, I am not feeling confident because we've gotten most of these wrong. However, I know Jerry's drinking gasoline over there, and I do want
Right.
to see him take those 3 sips. So like what you're drinking is enjoyable. So I'm thinking you
Right.
could probably handle that. Me, like, I'll fucking get through it. It'll be worth it just for the chance
All
for
right,
this guy to suffer.
I
I'm gonna.
agree.
So
Oh,
All
I'm
right.
thanks.
gonna, yeah, I'm so confident. I'm not even gonna pour more, and my
Wow.
glass is almost empty. So I am so confident we're gonna get
Yeah.
this right. I'm not even gonna do that. He's
No.
not confident because he is pouring. So I feel. What do you think? Should we do the three
Let's
for
do
one
it.
nothing? Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I feel pretty good about this last one, and I usually
You know what? I changed my
save.
mind.
No, it's too
I
late.
usually save a good one for the last. But all right, let's do it. So you're betting the three. All right, here we go. The last movie was it 1996, and that movie is Texas Chainsaw Massacre: Next Generation.
Next generation.
A lot on the line.
I know.
I'm gonna pour just in case.
No, no.
And I want you to get right up into that mic when you sip to get that ASMR going.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going, if I had to guess, and this is me guessing, I'm going to say that it was 96. Fawn, do you have an opinion? Because do not put this all on me.
No, I was thinking yes too. I'm a fan of Texas Chainsaw, and I feel like I've seen them all. I'm like,
You've
I
even seen The Next Generation. That is a fan because that is a tough one to watch.
I think it's 1996.
I'm going to go, let's go with that. We're a team
Yeah.
here. Our brains are locked in. Yes.
Okay, believe it or not, this is actually my favorite
Get
Texas
the fuck
Chainsaw
out of here.
Massacre because
Really?
it's so bad. It's so
It's
bad.
so
It's
bad. It's
good,
so bad.
and I like it. And this movie was made in 1995.
Ah!
Come on. All right. I'll be close
Cheers.
in here.
I'll give you guys a sip just because I barely drank in that one.
Yeah, that was probably one of the first ones. So okay, so Fawn, just so you know, the only time I think in the history of this show, out of the 28 or so episodes we've done, that I have lost a drinking game are partner with you and partner with
Oh
Katie.
no.
Partner with Katie K. Those are the only two times I've lost. Katie and I got destroyed.
Oh yeah, I remember
forget
that
what
now.
the,
Yeah,
I don't remember what the game was that we
I can look it
played,
up. Yeah.
but whatever game we played, it was a disaster, and we came in so confident. We're like, and she's a fucking bigger movie fan than I am, so I'm like, we're
Yeah.
good.
Oh no, that
Yeah.
was a hard one. That was a hard one. She had to guess what you rated a movie
Oh,
within
and
a
I,
s- with
Oh, that's hard.
within a star, I think.
Fawn, I couldn't remember what I rated the movie. It's like I was like, I don't
Yeah.
know, 10, 5, 3, I don't know. So that
Right.
was so I've only lost twice, and both the times was
It's
with
both of us.
yeah, two of my favorite people, two of the stars of
Oh
Maydroid
man.
Origins, which so we didn't talk about Maydroid Origins. So the last movie, I think it's the last movie, Fawn, you've had that's come out to the world
Mhm.
is Maydroid Origins. So since I'm trying to sober up really quick, tell us a little bit about that movie and your role in it.
Yes, I was Diana, the goddess and mother of the androids. And that was my first, well, I won't say my first, but my most successful kind of more like sci-fi fantasy film. So I really enjoyed that. And even though the character of Diana was very ambiguous, where you didn't know whether she was kind of good or evil, I've never really portrayed like a goddess kind of motherly figure. So that was really fun for me. And I love what you did with like the vocal effects too, to like make my voice like echo and be so powerful. But that's watch all the Maydroids. They're so good.
Yeah, and my favorite parts of that movie, like if I had to pick like what my favorite scenes are the scenes of you interacting with the maid droid KDK in those scenes because that's kind of like the philosophy of the movie, right? Because you got Maid Droid, which is like this sexy kind of psychological thriller, but there's like more to it, right? That kind of makes you think, and I really like how those scenes kind of do that. And again, how I think of that Diana character is almost like a biblical Satan kind of just whispering in her ear and kind of manipulating things behind the scenes. So I
Mhm.
love your role in that movie. And that was another one that, again, like I had a loose idea for that character, but like after working with you, like completely wrote that for you. Like I knew you'd be perfect for something like that. So so happy you said yes to that.
I love how you transitioned into like those dreamlike scenes where Diana was with Katie's character too. It was so cool. Visually just like stunning.
So, talking about a movie that is not visually stunning, and that's not really a slight on the movie. It's just that meant that we're going to talk about Creep from 2014. This is a found footage movie, and anyone who's listened to this podcast knows that I highly dislike found footage movies. And just a story about this one in particular, and like again, just because I don't like this movie, Fawn, doesn't mean it's not a good movie. It's just not my style. Back in like 2013, like when this movie was being shopped around to distributors, I was at a distributor and I was given a screener copy of this movie, and I watched it and I was asked, should we acquire this movie? And I said, hell no. It's a piece of shit. No one's
Oh
gonna watch it.
man,
No one's gonna like it. And what happened? They did a sequel. There's a TV series.
cult
They're probably gonna
following.
do another one. The movie fucking blew up. So I was completely wrong. I was like, I'm watching it. I'm like, no one's gonna watch this. Like, we passed. We passed because of me, and the movie ended up blowing up. So it just shows my taste. Do not listen to what I like because I fucked up on this one. So I'm going to give the plot of this. It is found footage. The plot of this is a young videographer, Aaron, answers an online ad for a one-day job in a remote location to record the last messages of a dying man for his unborn son. Unfortunately, Aaron notices that the man's odd behavior is a little bit troubling, and he starts to question the man's intentions. And the man in question is named Joseph, who's played by Mark Duplass. And this movie really, it's interesting because there's two characters in the entire movie. There's no other actors
It's
other
tough,
than
yeah.
Mark Duplass and the character Aaron. So it's really just them kind of interacting as Aaron tries to record basically Joseph going back and forth between talking to his unborn child and saying really dark, creepy, and doing creepy shit. And this movie does get really dark in kind of the things that they talk about.
Hmm.
Not as much as what you kind of see on screen, but there's a lot of things that are like planted that kind of make you feel really uncomfortable. And I will say, I again, I hate found footage movies. There's not one that I liked. I will say for the first 30 to 40 minutes, I was actually pretty into this movie. I was like really wanting to see where it was going, and I was super like interested in like what is Joseph's agenda? Like what is actually happening? And then there's a turn in the movie where Joseph, played by Mark Duplass, is kind of like not in the movie anymore, and it completely falls off for me. I got really bored for like the last half hour of the movie. So, Fawn, I know you picked this movie, and again, don't listen to me, like, because I'm obviously wrong about this movie, and my company would have made a ton of money if they didn't listen to me. So, why did you choose this movie? Like, what do you like about it?
So that's kind of it's weird to say. It's another like comfort film for me. I've seen it so many times and I kind of use it as like a friend test. Like when I'm getting to know someone, I'll put it on and be like, "What do you think of this movie?" And if like they're open to it and watch the whole thing, I'm like, "We're going to be friends."
So
But
we're
I
not
think
friends anymore, is what you're saying. Because if you would have showed me this the first time I met you, we would have never like that would have been it. I would have been like, I hate this fucking movie.
no, it's
Oh man.
fair. When I was rewatching it the other night with my boyfriend, he was like, "I don't like found footage. Like this was so weird," and he was like looking up little facts about it, which I didn't know. Most of it's improv, which
I
I
didn't
was
know
like,
that
Wow,
either.
I didn't
really
know
Yeah.
cool.
that. That's
Yeah,
cool.
it's improv. They filmed it in a week with just like
Yeah.
a loose outline, and apparently like it was originally meant to be like kind of like more of a comedy, like a dark comedy between the two actors who were doing it,
I can
and
see that.
they showed it to friends who like really picked up on some of like the really dark kind of pieces of it, and then they said, "Oh, we should do more of that." So it became more of this like horror movie. Even on IMDb, they list it as a horror comedy, and to me, there's nothing funny about this movie. It's not funny at
Right.
all. It's fucking
It's
dark.
uncomfortable.
It's very uncomfortable, and yeah, originally the intent was it for it to be a comedy, and they said it works better as a more of a horror movie, which I think was the right choice.
Yeah, I think we looked up, they found like that peach fuzz mask at a 99-cent store. And when they found that, they're like, oh, we're going to use this and it's going to
That's
be
awesome.
weird. Yeah.
Oh, that's
That's
interesting
iconic. That
because
mask is
yeah,
iconic. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a big part of the movie is that wolf's mask, and it really plays into the narrative of some of the darker things that are described in the movie. So that's interesting that that was just a happen chance kind of thing because
Yeah,
that makes the whole movie is that mask. So
it does.
I actually reading that like I love that. That's just two guys that are just like let's make some art, and they just got around, they fucked around, and like they came up with something, and that's like kind of I love that. So like it
Hmm.
does while I didn't like the movie as an entertaining thing for me, like it's just not didn't get me. I really appreciate it for what it is, just knowing like the research on it. So that's super cool.
Definitely. I think for the majority of the movie to be like just this dialogue between two guys and for it to like really, at least for me, just like I want to keep watching it. Like I'm in suspense. Like, what is this crazy Joseph guy gonna do next? Like, I think they did such a good job.
Yeah, and the, you know the twist of the movie is which isn't really hard a twist because you kind of figure this out that there's something going on here is that Joseph is a serial killer, and I also looked up this fact. There he records basically everybody he's going to kill, and apparently he's killed 57 people
Oh wow.
prior
Wow.
to this,
That's how
which
many
is
were in the cabinet.
that's a lot of kills.
So
So like
someone counted the videos in the cabinet. That's
yeah, yeah.
crazy.
And I haven't seen the Creep tapes, which is the series that this is based on, but I'm assuming that it kind of goes into what some of those tapes behind him are. Have you seen the
Oh,
series
it's
at all?
no, it's based off like a true serial killer story.
No, 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 but they did
Probably
so
this.
they did a series based like and I think it goes like each episode is a different kill from Joseph
Oh.
killing another person. I haven't watched it, it's on Shudder, I think.
Super
Um
slow. I watched a couple episodes. I just want to say like right now the world is tuning in right now to hear my opinion on this film because unfortunately I've been saying bad, horrible things about this film for like the last 10 years. And I'm going to be honest with you both. I watched it one time, I hated it. I watched it a second time, I hated it. I watched it a third time. I can't get into this film. So last week, I put on this fucking movie and I don't know what happened. I don't know. It must have just hit the right mood, the right moment. I was so involved and got so drawn into these characters and so into the storyline. I couldn't believe that this is the film that I didn't like and I found boring and couldn't get into. There were so many things that I liked about this film. Watching it this, I guess it's probably the fifth time I tried watching it, and it finally stuck. And it was like those small moments. It was like those moments where they were like walking through like the forest, and he's asking him like all these weird, uncomfortable personal questions.
Hmm.
Um, it's that really uncomfortable moment, like when he's like in the bathtub and he's pretending that he's like
that is
Hubbies.
so
yeah,
creepy.
can't
That scene
like
of him
that's
in
in
the
like the
bathtub
first
is
10
creepy as
minutes
fuck. Yeah,
and you're just
no.
like this is not normal and this poor guy, Aaron, you know that this is probably like a high paying like kind of like Craigslist gig for him so
Mhm.
he's trying not to make a scene and Joseph is working off of his trying to be polite and just trying to like do the job and he's using that against him to get this guy to go further and further out of his comfort zone and I was like man this is like a psychological deep dive between like what a person is willing to do to one to make money and two to be polite because Aaron was both of those things and things got pretty far and kind of absurd and I just do want to talk about this one scene when they are done filming and they're going back to Joseph's house and he's like, "Oh, why don't you come in for a whiskey?" And right then I'm like, he's not going in. No way this guy's going in. He goes in and I'm like, shit. I don't know what was going to happen because honestly, I never finished the film because I always get fed up with it. I was like, oh, this poor guy. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to get really, really bad. And it did.
Hmm. Yeah, it's so suspenseful. Like and it's so funny too, because like when he does go in for the drink and they have that shot of like Joseph and Aaron standing next to each other, Aaron towers over him.
Yeah.
So you almost have that false sense of security, like, oh, like he could take him, even though Joseph is crazy, like he'll be fine. And he's not.
And it's like as soon as he puts on like that peach fuzz mask, that's when he becomes like, the other kind of Joseph. And I really thought there were so many like red flags, for Aaron to kind of see like how weird he was acting. He does that weird dance and that song. There's a song, and a friend of mine claims that they know all the words to the song and they sing
That's a
it
little scary.
often. Yeah, so I was like, all right. I'm like, I don't know if I'm that involved with it yet, but I think there's like this clear like change in the character as soon as he puts that mask on. He was like blocking the door, but he had to block the door wearing the mask.
Mhm.
When we find out he's a serial killer, he's wearing that mask. And I think one of the most disturbing parts of this film is when he tells that story um, about being on vacation with his wife and
Mm.
about the mask. And to me, obviously, the story wasn't true, but the story he made up to tell Aaron was just so fucked up to even
It's
have your head
horrifying.
go in that
Right.
direction to kind of get a sense of where his head is at and what he thinks about. It was it was terrifying, and I think that's where I found a lot of the engagement in this film is just kind of trying to figure out this character and how insane he is and how he kind of switches back and forth between that. So, I mean, it was a much better watch this time, and there are many scenes that I really got into. I know what you're saying, Rich, about the end, how he's not really in it, but I think that's really he's the creep then. He's like creeping on this dude, he's stalking this dude. I mean,
Cutting his
imagine,
hair in his
yeah,
sleep.
imagine if you're that guy and like the guy's like sending things to your house and he's sending you videos. I mean, it's just so crazy. Like you'd be like, I just wanted to fucking make the money, and now this guy's sending me videos. Like there's so many times, like I think we all been in that position. Like you add someone on Instagram and all of a sudden they start talking to you and like they start getting like personal and they start kind of like asking you questions and you're like, oh, is this gonna be a problem? And
Mm.
you're like, how far do I let this go before I realize it's the problem? And it's like, that's exactly what happened to this guy, Aaron, something we could all relate to. And he let it go
Mhm.
too far. And now this guy is in his life and there's nothing he could do. He can't escape. He can't go home. He can't leave. He can't do anything because this guy is out there stalking him. And to me, that was terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he
and I
knows
mean,
nothing about
oh,
him.
oh, sorry, go ahead, Fawn.
No, it's just the fact that he knows nothing about him because he's such a pathological liar. Like, even as the viewer, it's like that crazy Peach Fuzz mask story. You're like, that's so crazy. That has to be true. Nope, it's not. Like, why would he say that?
Yeah, and I
Is
think
his name Joseph? Like we don't know anything, right?
and I think what like, and again, like I'm not gonna say I like this movie because I didn't, but like I liked it more than I liked other found footage movies, and it did kind of pull me in. And the scenes that you're talking about, so the scene where he gives that story about the mask and his wife, and I think it was really effective how they did that, how they cut the camera and it was just audio. Because then you're
Yeah.
like hanging on every word, and the way he tells the
Hmm.
story, it's creepy as fuck. It's really disturbing, and like I'm like, oh my god, like I really wanted to know what was happening next. Like I was really engaged. And the other scene you're talking about, where he's wearing the mask, he's blocking the door. I was terrified. I'm like, is he gonna rape this guy? Like, what's actually gonna
You don't
happen?
know what's gonna
I
happen.
don't
Yeah.
know. And then it kind of just like cuts, and you never really know what happened from there. I think so. Like to me, I was like super into that. But yeah, I did lose it. And I get what you're saying about the uncomfortability of again, like Aaron goes back to his normal life and he's still being like he's getting gifts from this guy. He's getting these weird videotapes. It is creepy, but I don't there's something about it that it kind of lost me. And I think I really just wanted to learn more about Joseph and learn like I was fascinated by that character and you kind of don't learn anything once that happens and he's out of the movie, you don't really learn about him anymore. And it
Well, you
becomes
can
kind of
watch the second one, Rich.
There
and
we
I'm not
go.
gonna. I'll be honest with you. I am actually gonna watch the second one
There you
now
go.
because, and I would never do that in a found footage movie. I actually am gonna watch it because I am curious to learn more because they did a really good job about setting that up. And yeah, I give it
Mhm.
a lot of credit for. for a found footage movie to make me feel suspense and interest, like it takes a lot. So while I'm not gonna like say I like this movie or like personally recommend this movie, I do really appreciate it, and they did take found footage in a different way. And knowing the fact that it was like improv and that like they were, you know,
That's
just
cool.
kind of figuring it out is like super cool that they made this really cool like art. I really appreciate it for that.
Yeah,
So far, like when you suggest this movie, I was like,
I
I
was
really
mad.
I really don't want to watch. I don't want to watch the movie, but I also like it's fun to like trash movies too. So I'm like, even if it sucks, I can kind of
Yeah.
talk shit about it, and but I wasn't like happy to watch it. But like I'm in it. I'm like 20 minutes in. I'm like, oh shit, like I get it. Like so, I see why they made a sequel. I see why they did a series. Now I regret passing on it back in the day 'cause maybe I would have got a promotion and
Nice
I'd be
bonus.
living in a better house than I'm living in now. But you know, what do you know? Who knows?
Just refer to me for like the weird movies. I'll
Yeah,
take
from now on, like if I ever have that decision again, I'm just gonna ask Fawn, like, is this movie good? Should we take it
Should
or
we
not?
watch it?
Yeah.
Because honestly, I was so pissed, and I think I asked Rich like 3 times. I'm like, Creep. I'm like, the 2014 movie. I'm like, the found footage movie. I'm like, that's the one we have to watch. He's like, yeah. And I was like, that night I was gearing up for it, and this is how bad it was. I was looking at the runtime, and I'm like, okay.
It's short at least. It's short.
I'm like,
It
it's
is.
short. I'm like, no matter what happens, I'm like, I'm getting through this film, start to finish tonight because it's my job to do it tonight. But I mean, that just goes to show you never know when something's just gonna hit that right mood.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna say it right now, and I'm putting it out there, and I was wrong. I was
Whoa.
wrong. You know,
Wow.
this this film is a good film, and I
Nice.
liked it a lot more than I ever imagined I was going to like it. I don't know what I was looking for the first few times I watched it. Maybe I wasn't ready to watch it, but it just kind of like struck a chord, and I am going to now rewatch the second one definitely, and I will try to give this series another try now that all of a sudden this revelation happened where I actually like this film.
So
I
Fawn,
love
you made
that.
the wrong choice picking me to drink with because Jerry's gonna give it a higher
I
rating than me.
know.
So you're probably gonna drink more than if you would have picked him. But you know,
This is not five bloody knives, but it's not the zero I was going to give it. I'll tell you that right now. It's
All
not the
right, so let's
zero.
That's
let's
good.
kind of let's kind of let's kind of wrap it up then. Let's so Fawn, really quick, what do you rate this movie 0 to 5?
So I'm gonna give it a 3.5. I love it. I think it's brilliant. And although I did like the at-home scenes with Aaron, it does always annoy me when I watch it. It's like he throws out that first creepy, terrifying DVD, and then later he calls the police. I'm like, you threw out all this evidence. Like that makes no sense.
He's recording everything. Like, why would he not keep
Why
that?
would he
Like,
not keep
it
evidence?
Really.
doesn't
Yeah.
make
And he's
any
not,
sense. Yeah.
yeah, he's not watching it back. Like you didn't watch back the part where he cut your hair and like snuck into your home. That's wild.
Cool. So 3.5. So Jerry, cheers to that.
Let me do it. Cheers. Oh man, I got to
Ah.
refill, man. Tonight's
Ooh.
Well, you don't have to
I don't
refill
know.
too much because I'm probably not going to give it that high a score. But so I'm actually going to give this movie. I was going to give it a 0 before I watched it. Like that was
Oh,
my pre. But I'm actually giving it a 2. So like I again
I'm shocked.
I wish the last half hour was different. I would have liked it more. However, maybe it would have been too much. Maybe it would have been too much Joseph, and maybe I wouldn't have liked it. So I am going to give it a 2 though, because like again, for a found footage movie to make me feel anything at this point is a lot. So I'm giving it a 2. Didn't love it, didn't hate it, thought it was like I appreciate it. So I'm giving it 2, and I am going to watch Creep 2. So Jerry, what about you?
nice.
All right, well, I'm proud of you, Rich, and it took fun to get you to watch a found footage film because I've been asking you to watch many over the last couple years, and
I hate them. I hate them.
you will not even entertain that thought. So I'm pretty impressed that you watched it. I'm pretty impressed that you gave it a 2. I'm gonna side with Fawn on this one. I like this a lot. I'm giving it 3.5. I'm gonna watch it the next one, and I'm gonna try to watch that series again. I think I might be into this going forward. So
All right,
three and a
so
half.
Jerry's going to drink 2 sips. Fawn and I are drinking 3.5. Cheers to that.
Years.
And Fawn just
Oh.
down that glass. Like she put
Wow.
that. For those of you who can't see, she put that down like a pro.
Mm.
It's fruity. That sounds like someone who's drunk. That's a drunk description.
I'm feeling it. I don't drink a lot of wine anymore, so I'm like, all right.
What do you usually drink now? So I know when Fawn and I hang out, usually we'll start with espresso martinis, and then you will you will switch it up to wine then usually. But what are you drinking now?
When I go out, I'm pretty similar. But well, I do like tequila too. Shots of tequila. If we do this again, I'm bringing that. But I've been into
we're not
like
doing this again because I'm not gonna do that. Tequila's the one thing I can't drink. So no, I'm kidding.
Next episode, Creep 2 with tequila.
Jerry's in. I'm not.
I like where your head's at. I like it.
I'll team with Jerry next time.
Yeah, we made the right move. Okay, so
I'm gonna blow it. I know I will.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I usually drink like these botanical seltzers that have like kratom in them now, which is like a totally different experience. But
I still haven't tried kratom. It's like a mood alterer, right?
yeah, it's kind of similar, I'd say, to like weed, but no anxiety, like none of that. You're just like chilling, your body feels good. I get them from like liquor stores sometimes have them. It's Uchi. It's a kratom seltzer, but
all right. So we need an Uchi endorsement for next episode.
Hey, yeah.
So all right. So thank you again, Fawn Winters, for joining us. Your new movie Feral will be out hopefully when this airs. If not, look out for it on Tubi anytime soon. So Fawn, once again, give you a chance to promote. Like, how can people find you? Anything else you want to kind of plug? If anyone hung out with us this long, like now's your chance.
Woo! Thank you. No, just my name, Fawn Winters. You can find me on all the platforms there. TikTok, like I'm saying, I'm most active on, and Tubi is where most of my feature films are. So check them out. We Are Wolves, Feral, Matroid Origins, Baby Cat.
Absolutely. And again, if you want to see Fawn dressed in a Velma or Daphne costume screaming at you, you want to go to TikTok, which again I'm doing right now. I'm downloading the app because that's something I need to see. No, seriously, Fawn, thank you so much for joining us. This was an absolute pleasure. It was great to finally have you on and to talk to you and to get know you a bit more. Yeah, I hope you come back again. You know what? If you come back, I will, as much as I hate it, I will do tequila shots. That will kill me.
Hell yeah.
But I will do it if it means you coming back on. But thank you so much. I'm not sure what we're doing the next episode because we haven't discussed it yet. So
yeah, nothing planned, but we will be guesting on another podcast in the interim. So definitely look out for that. We'll give more information once we record that. But yeah, we'd have nothing solid planned. So we're gonna freestyle it.
Yeah, we'll figure out something cool to talk about. So again, you can follow us on Instagram at horrorheadspodcast or email us your love and hate at horrorheadspodcast@gmail.com. Fawn has finished her entire bottle of Menage a Trois, so she's not going to cheers with us. However, Jerry and I will do a quick cheers to round this.
I'll just drink out of
there's a sip
Oh
more
yeah,
left in
hell
that
yeah.
bottle.
Oh, nice.
There is a little bit more. Okay, so let's do a final cheers, wrap this one up. You can drink out the bottle? Oh shit. All right.
Yeah,
cheers.
might as well. Cheers.
All right.
I gotta get that. Hold on. That's it. Cheers.
Cheers.
Mm.
Oh man, cheers. Thank you, Fawn. That was great.
All right. Thank you so
It's
much.
so nice to meet you, Jerry. Always a pleasure, Rich.
Have a good night.